Shalom, beloved family. It's your girl Sophia Spiritualite, and we're here with another message. This one is from the Father, and I just want to make that distinction because I actually had a dream, and I've talked about it. I think every day since I've had it, but I finally got some understanding of what actually was going on in the dream, and I wanted to just give you guys a heads up, as this is a message for all of us, not just for me. In my dream, I was at like a football game or something like that. Like I waited in line to get into the stadium, and then once I got into the stadium, I went to the bar to try to get something to drink. And so I'm in this long line, and finally, I'm second in line. So the person in front of me, which of course is a Gentile, he's ordering everything for everybody in the whole room. Like he's asked, "Hey, what do you want? What do you want?" Like literally to every single person, not me, and not every people behind me, but everybody who's sitting at the bar, people who are just watching the game, people, just everybody. He's like, "Hey, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" Charging on this credit card, all of that. So this takes a long time for him to finish up whatever it is he's doing, so that the bartender can get to me. And finally, I mean, this guy just finishes, and I'm just like, man, he asked everybody if they wanted a drink besides me. So that's okay, because when I went in there, I recognized that I didn't have much on me, but I said, well, at least I'm going to squeeze out a few enough dollars to get a drink, probably like $9 or something like that for a beer. Which it probably is more than that, but my number is number nine, so nines always show up for me. So as I get into the line, or as it becomes my turn, the um the uh the bartender asked me what I want, and I'm like, well, the bar is a little bit taller than me because I'm short, so the bar is a little bit taller than me, so I can't see everything that's on tap. But I decide, well, I want an apple beer, like a hard cider, because usually they have hard cider on tap, whatever, whatever, and whatever's on tap is going to be cheaper. Anyway, that's just like my bartender stuff. So I'm trying to see what hard cider they have on tap. I know that's going to be the cheapest. I should be able to afford that. And all of a sudden, the guy who's behind me, who is taller than me, significantly taller than me, I can't really see his face, but I know he's a melanated person. He's like, order whatever you want, it's on me. And he's got like a platinum card, but it looks like actual platinum, not like a platinum card where the card is platinum. It looks like he's holding like a literal platinum card, and a piece of platinum in the shape of a credit card. And he's like, order whatever you want, it's on me. And so at that moment, like the game starts or something. And so I pop out of that for a moment to go down to see what the action is on the field. And so it's like I'm on the field looking at what's going on. And first of all, the field is covered in sand, and it's people dressed in like gladiator costumes, and they're like fighting to the death. There's swords, there's rocks, people are running, and I'm not running. I'm like, because if I'm like standing in the middle of it, and I'm like, oh, this is not what I came here to see. What is going on with these people? Let me go back to where I was. So immediately after I see what's going on, I pop out of that back up to the bar. And so I pop back into the bar, and I'm still trying to place my order. So the guy is like, well, look at this, and he's showing me like these bottles of apple hard cider that are like, at first, when I first had the dream, I couldn't tell what the symbols were on them, but after some thinking, I was like, oh, they look kind of like the crest of the nobility. So, he's showing me several ones that they have kind of like on the top shelf. So I wouldn't have seen it because I was looking at the bottom shelf. So he redirects me to look at the top shelf to these, magnificent bottles, and these different crests and whatnot. And so I was looking at that when I woke up out of my dream. And so this was like 2 days ago, I think, maybe 3 days ago now. and I wasn't sure exactly what I knew what some of the parts of the dream meant, meaning I was concerned about the Gentiles going in and buying everything up, wasting our inheritance on whatever junk it is that they want. I was very, very concerned with that. Then, before I went to sleep, but this other part, I really didn't know. And as far as the gladiators fighting on the field, I knew that was whatever was going on out in the world. I looked at it and said, well, no, I don't want no parts of this because I'm not fighting. I didn't come here to watch this. I thought it was going to be some other type of game. This is not really my cup of tea. I'm not involved in this. So I popped out of that. So I recognized that that was just like whatever's going on in the world. I can look at it, but I'm not going to get myself involved in it. But the last part really concerned me because I said, well, if that was the Most High showing up in my dream, and he's offering me all these nobility titles, what's the alternative? Meaning, what is the other option? And so that was a day where the one of the viewers, well, because I had asked, well, what are the feast days of the mother, and one of the viewers was talking about Saint Lucia's day, so I had to look that up. And so the story of Saint Lucia is that basically she was quote unquote virgin, which that just means a young woman and a woman under the age of 50. And she actually ended up, they tried to burn her at the stake, but they couldn't. Well, let me go back a little bit in the story for St. Lucia. They call her Lucy. So what happened was she was an earlier follower of Yahweh Shai, and um his messages that he was giving around. She was born like 200 years after he died or something like that, 200 and something AD. And she didn't live very long. And what happened was she decided that she wanted to take her um it's a couple things. She had made a vow of virginity, and she did not want to take a pagan suitor, because I think this was in Italy or Greek or some. It was somewhere where she would have had to marry into a pagan family. She didn't want to take on that, and she actually, her father had died when she was young, but her dowry was in place. So remember. They talk about how women weren't given inheritance. That's not true. The dowry was their inheritance, and they usually gave the dowry to her husband, and her husband used that for what they needed to do. So women did get inheritance just the way that the men did, except the men's inheritance went to pay for the woman, and the woman's inheritance went to the man to pay for the woman. That's just how it is. It wasn't inheritance given, it was just a given in a different way. And in the Testament of Job, they talk about that a little bit more. And also the Hammurabi Code, they talk about that, how the inheritance and how the dowry is to be given. And so um, you had to go back to my videos on the Hammurabi Code, and also the Testament of Job, my review, to get a little bit of understanding on that. So, long story short, she didn't want to get married. She wanted to give her money and her stuff. She wanted to give everything she had to the poor. And her mother, she went to another place where they call him the women who I can't the women martyrs. There we go. She went to another place of well, her mother didn't want to go along with it. I forgot this part. Her mother didn't want to go along with it because her mother was sick, and she said, well, if I go to this martyr and I'm able to get you healing, will you reconsider? But the mother had already pledged the girl to this pagan dude, and so the mother said yes, so she would reconsider. So Lucy went to the she went to the martyr, the place where the martyr had passed, and she talked. She had a conversation with the martyr. I think it was Agatha or something like that, or Agnes or something. Um, and that the martyr promised that her mother would be healed. So she went back, and her mother was healed. And then her mother said, okay, you can give your money away. Well, somehow the suitor had fed the pagan dude. He had found out what was going on, which at that time you could not be a follower of Yahweh Shai at all whatsoever. And we all, I mean, we can understand why. Originally because this man was out here talking about the mother, telling everybody to worship the mother, blah 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 blah. He had this woman, that he had elevated within his ranks. All of those things are unacceptable. So if you are following Yahushua, you're finding yourself in big trouble right now. Plus, you had Peter and Paul and all these people going all around the world trying to tell people to worship the mother, right? And so what ended up happening was the guy outed her as a Christian to whoever, and then they came and they tried to take her away to be a prostitute. And so the first thing that happened was they had a a cart full of oxen tied to her, and she would not move, meaning she was heavy as like a rock. She would not move. Then they gave that up, trying to move her to take her to this house of this whorehouse. They gave that up, and then they said, "Well, let's just burn her." Like, of course, she's a witch, right? So they try to burn her. They literally like could not get the fire to light. Like it wouldn't light, and so when angels was working at that time, they couldn't get the fire to light, and so they gave that up. And then at some point, either she gouged her eyes out or they gouged her eyes out, but for some reason her eyes was gouged out. And she said that she may have pulled her own eyes out, gouged her own eyes out, so that she would not be beautiful enough to be in a whorehouse, because her eyes look all crazy. Who's gonna want to have sex with somebody like that? Which that's one thing. Or they gouge them out as a form of torture. We don't know which one it is, but the point of the matter, her eyes was gouged out. And then she ended up they've been trying, they couldn't kill her. Like they couldn't force her to be a prostitute, they couldn't kill her, so eventually they just took a sword and stabbed her in the throat. And when they went to bury her in the mausoleum or whatever, her eyes had come back to normal. So her feast day is December the 13th, and in her her thing is she's the patron saint of eyes. And so people who have eye problems, whatever the case may be, they will talk to her and see if they can help them with their eyes. And as I mentioned, this ties directly to my grandmother because she had an incurable eye disease as a young person, 13, 14. And right when she was getting ready to go into high school, my grandmother was very, very smart, and she had this incurable eye thing, and she was able to see, enough through the rest of her life after going through this experience that she could read. She read every single day. Even though she couldn't finish school, because her eyes were in pain, she read every single day. She was one of the most she read the newspaper. She knew what was going on. She was very, very well read, just like her father was very well read. And so, and my grandmother's name, her middle name is actually the name of this particular saint. So, um, it's spelled a little bit differently. I guess it's got the Gaelic, sort of thing thrown in there, but it's the same name. And so I was like, wow. So now, mind you, this is all happening at the time when the Most High has given me this offer. Either I'm going to take, the cheap beer, that I can afford with whatever's in my pocket, or he's offering me the titles of the nobility or whatever on that's high on the shelf, on the top shelf. And if you've been to a bar, the stuff that's on behind the bartender on the top shelf, that's premium stuff. You know what I mean? That ain't no cheap stuff. And so, and he has this platinum card, and it's clearly a black man. Okay, so this bothered me because now I had this information about the torture this woman had to go through trying to, give her inheritance away to these poor people, alleged poor people, versus, the Most High offering me this title of nobility. And so, that started to feel like a decision. So I still kept asking for clarification because me, I'm not going to I'm gonna I need clarification. So I'm still asking for clarification. And so then last night I realized well, that's a decision you have to make right now. And I'm like, well, what do you mean I have to make this decision right now? What does that mean? So I got some clarification on that this morning. And it's not just clarification for me, it's clarification for everybody moving forward. We have the opportunity to gain our inheritance back. The Most High is, as I mentioned, that occultation of Mars and the moon was to me, feels like it was the invitation for us to have access to the language of the mother, which I'm starting to understand. That's the stuff that's in the Keys of Solomon that we never got access to. That's what that stuff is. That's the language of the mother. And so, if we want to have access to that, you know, we can't do what we did the last time. We have to make a different set of decisions that we have made in the past. And so, for me, it just kind of felt like I really had to decide whether I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to figure out how to give everything I have away to the poor, or if I'm going to take the rest of my life and really take care of myself. And so that's a very difficult decision for someone like me, given that, on one side, I have this whole line of royalty, with King Shield Jaguar, Lady Shield, and these, high priestesses and all this stuff on one side, and then on the other side it's coming up like, yeah, but you also have this whole line of martyrs, people who gave everything, to help other people. So I have equal amounts of, kind of like both, and it's very, very, um, I wouldn't say traumatizing, but that is very scary. And so, me, since I know I'm incapable of making that kind of decision, I just ask the Most High, well, which one do you want me to do? Because whatever decision I make, if I don't ask you first, it's going to be the wrong decision. So what would you think is better for me? And so the answer for me is the answer for everyone. It's not just me. It's all of us. We have the opportunity right now to walk into um our inheritance, our actual inheritance being like the male children of the Most High. We have a chance to walk into our inheritance. And so, what the Most High said to me was to take the title, take the nobility. You don't have to go through this suffering for these poor people. Take your title, take your nobility, and do what you can with that. And so, and me, I asked, will I still be able to help some people, this and that? And of course, the answer is yes to that. But the whole idea is that I'm not going to give everything that I have away so that I can, follow Jesus, I guess. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give it all up and be out here, broke and destitute when the Father is offering me my full inheritance, because when you go to a bar, like, anyway, just know that if you have somebody with a platinum card, just a regular platinum card, much less a card made out of platinum. If you have somebody with a platinum card, that means they have an unlimited balance. That means you literally can you can spend as much money as you want, and it doesn't matter. They let you charge any amount when you have a platinum, especially like a Platinum American Express. You can spend whatever you want, and at the end of the month, you just send them a check or whatever, for whatever you spent. That's how those cards work. And so, the Most High, indicated to me that He wanted me to choose the inheritance, choose the nobility, choose the kings and the queens over, the peasants. And I accepted that, and so that's to say to everyone out there, but of course, me, I always try to throw my conditions in there. I just had one condition: I'm not going to do this without my family. And I was talking about my physical family, but I mean my spiritual family too. I'm not going to I'm not going to accept being this person who has received the inheritance if, my family, my true family, also does not receive their inheritance too. We have to, some of us we have to work together. We have to watch out for each other. And so that was an acceptable term to the Most High. And that's what we agreed on. And so I say this to you, when the time comes up for you to make a decision on what you should do moving forward to get yourself in position to walk into your inheritance. You have to remember that it's not that you have to focus on yourself first. That's really not what it is. What it is you have to be willing to accept the title that the Most High is giving to you. And so, whatever that title may it be king, queen, priestess, teacher, Pharaoh, whatever the title is, because remember, Joseph, they called him Pharaoh. Just like they called Pharaoh Pharaoh, they also called him Pharaoh. He was literally like the Pharaoh. So, he didn't turn that down. And so, we have to also remember when the Most High is. Puts the title on us that as the children, as the light, as the inheritors of the kingdom, we have to accept that title. We can't say no, it's not me, it's somebody else, it's this person, it's that person, it's them over there. No, 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 it has to be you. So like I would always say, man, why does it have to be me? It could only be me. Who else could it possibly be but me? How can I look for someone else but me? I mean, that's a conclusion that I came to, and that's a conclusion that we all have to come to, is that as the inheritors, as the rightful beneficiaries of the trust of the Most High, go back and listen to my video on the express trust of the Most High. That whole Bible is a contract. It's a contract with us as the beneficiaries. Everybody else try to be the beneficiaries of the contract, but it's really we're the beneficiaries of the contract, the good side and the bad side, and we've done both already. We're the beneficiaries of the kingdom. There's no doubt about it. Everyone else wants to be the beneficiary, but it ain't. It ain't nobody but us. And so we can't look for anybody else, to bring us our kingdom, but the Most High and but us. It has to be what we do. And even if you remember from the Hammurabi Code, even when the sons got the inheritance, there's still stuff that they had to do before they could get the inheritance. And a lot of it was the father would tell them like where to go, what kind of house to buy, all this kind of stuff. They had to listen to their father as they were receiving the inheritance. They couldn't get the inheritance and then run off like a maniac. That's not how that worked. It was very specific rules on how the inheritance was to be handled. And I'm going to go back and actually listen to that myself because I had forgotten about that until just now. But there, even with the dowry. So look at it this way too. In this case, the Gentiles have received the dowry. They're the wife. They received the dowry. Well, they got their dowry and they squandered it, which exactly it says in the Hammurabi Code not to do. They did all kinds of stuff, violating their own rules that their own people set. Like they completely. When I say they violate everything, they literally violated everything. They all kinds of stuff. It says don't do this, don't do that. You're supposed to save a certain amount, and you're supposed to take your dowry and use it to build. Make sure you can take care of yourself and this and that. And that's not what the Gentiles did. They squandered their entire dowry. Then instead of saying, okay, coming back to the father and saying, not we want another 70 years. No, no, no. They're supposed to come back to the father and say, I will live in your house as one of your servants because I squandered my dowry. That's what they're supposed to do. They did not do that. They didn't do that. What they did was what it says not to do in the Hammurabi Code, which is they tried to kill the father, basically usurp the father's place. This is in the Hammurabi Code. I'm not making this up. I'm just remembering this now. They tried to usurp the father's place in their own rules. It says you cannot do this. They tried to usurp the father's place, take over his whole household, and make themselves in the same position as the father. Well, that's against they violated their own rules. You can't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. You can't say that you are the father and usurp the father and basically like demand that the brothers, the inheritors, give give you the sister um their inheritance because you squandered yours. That's not how it works. What happens is you get cut off, and you end up basically what happens is you end up selling yourself into slavery. And so now we know why that dude with the mustache was trying to warn them, like, hey, according to our own code, our own laws, What's supposed to happen when y'all do this kind of stuff is y'all are supposed to sell yourselves into slavery. And that's what they've done. They sold themselves into slavery. And that's what he was trying. He said, we will be their slaves forever. They will be our slaves forever. They sold themselves into slavery because they continued on the path which was against their own code. So not only did they bring the universal code that went way too far, now I'm starting to understand they broke their own rules. The rules they have for themselves, they broke those too. So you have them breaking rules. I mean, when you break the rules that you make for yourself, I mean, I don't really know what you're supposed to do. What is somebody supposed to do with someone who even will break the rules that they make for themselves? That's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to at least follow the rules that you made for yourself, and they didn't. They even broke the rules that they made for themselves. And so this is why you have things the way that they are, and this is why the Most High wants us to understand that we can't save these people. We can't help these people. We can't save these people. We can't do anything for them. And remember the people in the Bible were all people who look like us. This is not even getting to the actual Psalms 83 people, the nations. This is just talking about our own brothers and sisters. We can't say, I mean, people who look like us, right? Who sold us into slavery with no questions asked, no thought about it, no worries and no concerns. We actually can't do anything for them when they start to falter and when they start to fail and they won't cling to the Most High. Hey, that's on you, buddy. That ain't got nothing to do with me because guess what? You chose to have your heaven right here. You chose to, lay down with those Gentiles and do what they do and want what they want and I'm just loading up some incense, so that's the sound that you hear. You chose to do what they do and want what they want. That was on you. We tried to tell them, please don't do that. That's the Father is very upset with that. We don't want you guys to suffer, but at the same time, we don't want you to do that. What did they do? They did the Spanish Inquisition on us and started burning us at the stake. Even the beloved sister Lucy, just for saying that she wanted to follow the Most High. They done burned her at the stake. Tried to burn her at the stake, couldn't burn her at the stake, gouged her eyes out, couldn't kill her, and ended up, just throwing a knife into her just so that she would stop. She wouldn't, give her money away, her dowry away to the poor. They did all of these things to this woman just so she wouldn't give her dowry away to the poor. And it still didn't work because she gave her dowry away. The husband can't claim the dowry on a woman who's dead. That's crazy. That was like a punishment. He was going to collect that dowry from the money that she made as a prostitute. This was his plan. So you have people that look like us doing this to people who look like us who just wanted to follow, you know, the the who wanted to follow the example of Yahushua and worshiping the mother. And this is what they did. And so we can't save these people. They have made their bed 100,000%, and they have to lie in it. The only thing that we can do is secure our own title, our own nobility, so that we don't have to suffer the same fate as 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 the daughter, as the Gentiles who did what they weren't supposed to do, broke every law, including their own laws, and somehow want us to suffer the same fate as them when their own people broke their own laws, and they haven't repented, they haven't asked for forgiveness, they haven't nothing. They haven't even thought about it. They're out here, thinking that Jesus is going to save them. Let me just say Jesus, and that's my way. They haven't even thought about worshiping the Father. That's or the Mother, and that's on them. That's on them. We don't have anything to do with that. We have to stay out of it. And so I that's the message that I got, and I hope it makes sense. But we have to take our inheritance and we have to just go with it, and it's one of those things where it doesn't seem fair almost because we don't know what they did in past lives, and the more that we learn about us and our past lives, we can see that we didn't do what they did. We didn't take the easy way out. We chose to suffer, we chose to give, we chose to do for others. We chose to, no matter what, worship the mother. It's something that I've been saying, to different individuals when I see them post crazy stuff, Christians. Like one of them said, one of the girls on Gab, she had posted a picture of like a little. She's more like she's Gentile, but she's more like into like witch kind of stuff. Like so, she had posted a little witch room, right? Just like an example. And somebody commented on that, hey, we're almost at Christmas. You need to be celebrating Christmas. Put some Christmas theme in there. And I was like, if that person is celebrating Christmas, if she said, "Oh, we'll burn you at the stake," and I said, if that person, if that person represents Christmas, you can just burn me at the stake because I don't want to be affiliated with anybody who's thinking they celebrate Christmas, acting like that towards somebody because they don't have like Christmas themed stuff up on their page on the internet. You know how insane that sounds? And so I've been saying that to people like, if this is what y'all think heaven is, I don't want to go to your heaven. And I remember hearing that Levi telling one of the stories about one of the Haitian brothers, when the Spanish came to try to conquer them, and he said straight up in their face, if y'all are going to heaven, send me directly to hell. And that's how I feel. Like if this is what y'all, if this right here, this existence right now is what y'all call heaven, then send me to the opposite of this. This is not nobody's heaven but y'all's. I don't want to be involved in this at all whatsoever. And that's how I felt like in my dream when I went down on the field and I saw that these people was fighting and it was dusty and the wind was blowing and the crowd was cheering. I was just looking at these people like, you all have lost your everlasting mind if you think that this is something I want to participate in, I want to look in, I want to be a part of. I ain't trying to be a part of none of this. Like, get me the heck out of here. And I popped out of that thing just as fast as I popped in because you could just hear the roar of the crowd. And I was like, well, what are they even looking at? I didn't even know what kind of game I was there to see. And that's how when we come to this planet, we don't know what kind of game we're here for. We have no idea. We just get thrown into this. I mean, our spirits know, but our, reconnecting or connecting with your spirit is so hard that they've made that so difficult that we don't know what we're getting into when we come on this planet. And something else I wanted to mention about that, I just got around to, I didn't realize I had missed some of Mimsa's videos. And I just want to point out something that I noticed in one of those books. And it was talking about the different colors of the rays. And indigo is basically like one of the colors and something about that started it or ended or something about 98 88. And I was born in 85. And a lot of kids who were born in that 1980s block till about mid 90s were called indigo children. And I understand that to me now that we were we came here with access to that spiritual magic that the generations before us didn't. And just like after that with the rainbow children, my daughter is would be considered a rainbow. And that means they have access to the full spectrum of those rays. And then you have the crystal children, which are the receivers for those rays. So I'm an indigo, and I have a rainbow, and then I have crystal children. So I got like a bunch of stuff going on around here, and I'm like, wow, I understand what this means now because all the explanations I ever heard for indigo, they never made any sense. But when you talk about, oh, it's an indigo ray that's coming in from the sun, oh, I understand that. That makes perfect sense. And so if you're a rainbow, that means you have full access to the whole spectrum of light. And if you're a crystal, that's a crystal is a receptacle for the spectrum of light. And so now we understand why since I would say 1980s that our people have been under such heavy attack with the crack epidemic. They tried to knock a bunch of us out from being able to directly go into that spiritual realm. Then you had like the whole thing in the 90s with all the shootings and all that crazy stuff, and then you have the extreme amplification of the the drug epidemic, and of course 9/11. That was to really knock a lot of the indigos out of their magic, because when you go to war, when you start having to kill people and all of that, man, you can't. It's really difficult to maintain any kind of spiritual connection when you, especially the conditions for which we were sent there, complete lies, complete everything. And I just say to all of that they tried it, and none of it has even worked, because you have the people who in my age, like I said, when I get on Twitter, I am really shocked at how many people, you know, um, use the term priestess, high priestess, or priest, or all of these spiritual terms. I am shocked. I am shocked because healers and all of that. I was like, whoa, these people are just throwing this term around recklessly. No, it's not that. It's just that they knew what they came here to do, and they were able to figure it out sooner. So even all of the people who they tried to, you know, keep off of that track, it hasn't even worked, because the mother has come in and covered them in such a way that they still got back to it, and they got back to it faster through the use of one of her children, which is the internet. People have gotten into this stuff way faster, working with their ancestors, healing, and all this stuff. These are all common terms around the black community. People know what this stuff is. Now you still have your gatekeepers, the people born in the 70s and the 60s who are really acting like gatekeepers, but even them are starting to break down and see, like, I keep getting woke up at a certain time, or, you know, I keep having these things happen to me. I need to wake up and see what the spiritual meaning is at. And so you're having even the older, even up to the boomers, turn around and say, well, it's something here that I'm missing. I gotta go and find this spiritual part that I'm missing. So at least in the black community, that's what I see. And Queen Afua, in her discussion with Brother Rich, she actually confirmed the same thing, where she said people, daughters had come in to get healings, and then as a the part of the healing, you have to talk to your mother, and then the mothers come in to get their healing too. And so you have mother daughter, teams graduating at the same time with this particular healing, and so you see it happening in little bouts all over the community. And because we don't know how many people are really in our community, and they still got us like separated by these segments, the more we coalesce around the same timeline, the more likely it is we'll start to see how all of these things are playing together. And I don't feel like this is an accident, especially now that we've been given the keys to the language of the mother, with this occultation of the moon, of Mars, the other day. And it's going to be a little bit delayed because Mars is in retrograde, but the keys are open. The door is wide open for us understanding how the mother communicates and getting the actual, the words for how she communicates, not just her actually having to come in and teach each one of us. No, we're actually given access to the actual words of how she communicates. And so I anticipate more of that information to be coming out within, the next few, weeks or so, because that's what was that energy is the energy that was transferred over. And so the father just wants to remind us that we can't save everyone, we can't save anyone. We can't help anyone. We will lose our lives in the attempt to help someone else who has not done the spiritual work. And so we have to make sure that we focus on getting ourselves, taking our royalty back, taking our titles back, taking our nobility back, and really zeroing in on what that means for us individually and what our individual title is. So, my next set of questions is, what is my title? I've never been a person for titles, but if the Most High is showing me some titles on the top shelf, well, tell me which one is for me. I don't know. And that's another thing. I feel like I'm always like asking because I don't know. I'm not assuming, I'm not accepting, I'm not nothing. I'm asking which one is for me? Which one do you want me to do? I mean, I already have an idea because of the work I've been doing with the mother, but the point of the matter is, I'm still like, no, 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 no. I'm not making the decision. I'll ask you which one you think I should do, and that's the one I'm going to do. I'm not going to be out here, just all willy nilly. trying to figure it out on my own. And so this is why, again, back to my lessons, my not lessons, but my messages from the last few days, you better understand what the mother does and what the father does. And so it wasn't the mother that bestowed the title on me. The mother wasn't there. I just want you to understand, in my dream, the mother was not in that dream. The father was there. He bestowed the title. And then once he bestows the title, I'll know I got to go to the mother to learn how to actually use that title. And so, because I understand the God I serve is one God, has different parts, I know how to navigate this whole system. And so until you get, now I understand why I had to put that message out there. Until you get all of these things in your mind, you're not going to be able to comprehend how to make this thing work, because we don't know how it works. We don't. But like I said, I keep asking, how does this work? How does that work? How do I do this? How do I do that? And then I'm taking the time to be quiet and calm so that I can receive the answer, and I'm not just like jumping out here saying a bunch of stuff and I haven't received no answer. No, I double check. I'm quick to use my pendulum to double check and triple check and make sure that I have the proper understanding, because I'm not trying to be out here giving nobody an improper understanding. And and I don't want these messages to be too convoluted, and I don't even want to deliver the messages. So the fact that I'm still, delivering the messages that I don't want to deliver because they need to be said so people can start to get their minds right, is just a whole nother thing in and of itself. But it is what, I've been called to do at this time. And so, I'll keep delivering the messages, and whoever they're for, whether it be now or 84 years from now, as Elder Elman's sigil came back to us from 84 years into the future. Um, whether it be for now or for that time, I'm gonna go ahead and deliver the message, and I hope that it falls on the ears to whom it needs to fall on. So, to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace, and always remember, the Most High is your peace. Shalom, everyone.